What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the second studio album by the alternative band from the UK, Muse. It's called Origin of Symmetry and it was originally released in 2001. Now today, you're kind of getting a 3-in-1 review because it's an album review, it's a redemption review because I had previously done a review for this, and it's also a throwback review. So you're just getting the complete package today. When I initially reviewed this in 2012, I was nowhere near the reviewer or critic that I could have been, and the one that, not to brag on myself, but the one that I've kind of grown into. I didn't really know what I was doing in 2012. I was just out there uploading videos to the internet and calling them reviews, when in reality, it was kind of just me saying favorites, least favorites, and giving very little vital information about the album itself. So I apologize if you did see the original review for some reason that had like 20,000 views. If you didn't, then okay, doesn't matter, just pretend I didn't say this. Let's go right into it. Every once in a while, an album drops that truly rattles the cages of the industry, so to speak. Not maybe in a big mainstream way, but in terms of like what influences other rock bands and what pushes the genre forward. And the men of Muse crafted that album with 2001's sophomore LP, Origin of Symmetry. This album is practically brimming over the top, just at its boiling point with how much talent that it holds. You can see from every member of Muse that everybody is contributing in a big way. Just look to their bassist Chris, for example, and the way that his bass is so immaculate and makes bold statements here. In many bands, the bassist isn't exactly a primary factor, he's something that could be replaced. I don't think that Muse would be what they are today without Chris, and the way that his bass lines truly drop your jaw in a way, especially on some of these moments. If you don't believe me, look to Plug-In Baby with that amazing, almost synthesized bass effect that's going on there. That practically steals the show, and it really is what my ear is drawn to these days when I listen to a track like that. The bass going in the background is one thing, and he's so talented there, but we also can't forget Dominic on the drums, and he's like thunder and lightning in a way, the way that they coexist within each other. The thunder in the sense that sometimes it takes a few seconds, and you have to let it reverberate with you, and it hits your eardrums maybe after a couple of listens, but also lightning in the sense that he is so fast when some of these tracks pick up, and the drums just come crashing through. Just look to something like Darkshines. And obviously, we cannot forget to top it all off, Matthew Bellamy. That man right there, especially in Muse's early days, was really showing his true talent. And on their second LP, his voice somehow got even stronger and reached even more octaves. You can see him on something like Micro Cuts, reaching into that soprano range and really nailing those notes. And then you've also got him playing the piano, driving with his guitar on some of these cuts like Space Dementia and Newborn. This album, through and through, like I said, boiling over with talent. I've said it before and I know I'll say it again, but I'm gonna say it here for you today. Muse have really nailed down what it takes to have an attack and restraint. Kind of that decay, but also the build-up, the suspense. They know when to strike and when to back off and how to keep the listener guessing, because these songs are anything but predictable. So many of them go in different directions than what you would expect. And just listen to some of the cuts that I've already talked about, like Micro Cuts or even the opening track Newborn, if you don't believe me. Newborn is kind of a fan favorite in a way. It gets played live somewhat often still. I personally have not seen it performed live, but I've seen live performances on YouTube and that sort of thing. And the band really gets into this one, and so does the crowd. The piano opens this track, and I love the fact that many of Muse's early albums do contain a lot of piano-driven moments that really just open this thing up to an expansive sound. And I like the fact that they weren't afraid to explore those tendencies, but also bring in loud guitars. And you can see that on Newborn. This one is so dark in a way with its mysterious lyrical content, and then it just totally breaks in once the guitar starts slamming and you can hear the bass and the drums start to pound in the background as well. And you can't get some of these moments out of your head because you think about how soft and somber it might have been, but it evolves into something so loud, and that solo is everything. Coming off of 1999's album Showbiz, Muse truly knew that they wouldn't write themselves into a corner because they weren't afraid to explore, like I said, without losing their signature sound. They were known for Matt Bellamy's voice, also loud guitars, but also pianos as well, and on many of these tracks they did branch out. and one of those is another favorite of mine, Megalomania. That one refers to maybe perhaps a megalomaniac, somebody who is driven by ego, power, and control. Think to dictators or even current regimes that are going on right now in the United States and all over the world. Megalomania really explores some of those themes, but it works in kind of a European flavor in terms of its guitars and just the way that it is styled musically in general. I think the lyrics are kind of poetic here in an almost kind of dark way. And then you've got something like Hyper Music, which was balls to the wall, off the wall, kind of crazy. And I love a song like that because it does get so furious. And P.S., if you've never listened to its counterpart, Hypochondriac Music, off of the Hullabaloo soundtrack, then you are missing out big time. That song is beautiful and it is totally different than the album version of Hyper Music. They continue to push the envelope forward on this album with tracks like Space Dementia, which opens up with a flurry of pianos and then it just goes in a maddening swirl, which really shows off how talented Bellamy is behind that instrument. But then it turns out to be kind of a 6-minute epic that has all of these other themes and obviously an obsessiveness to it, because if you look into the meaning of that song, you can see the reasons as to why he wrote that. He was really lusting after someone and made it a very dramatic show, but not in a cheesy way whatsoever. That song rivets to this day. Then you have other moments, like I already mentioned, micro cuts being something that dared to do something a bit different, and then Screenager, which slowed it down a bit, but was very kind of reflective in a way, and I like the change of pace that that track offers this album, Origin of Symmetry. But the real move here was Feeling Good, a cover of a track that, no, was not originally by Michael Bublé. This track here is something that really shows off Muse and obviously their great vocal tendencies that Matt Bellamy has, but also their ability as a band to take something and not stray so far from the original, but really adding their own twist on this edition of Feeling Good, a great and excellent, dare I say, cover. One of the biggest singles to come from this album was the track Bliss. That is the one that if most people were to name a track from Origin of Symmetry, they would probably point to that one. And that's not a bad thing, at least they're familiar with some of their early work, because this track is still incredible. I love the way that it kind of opens up with a spiral of pianos, and you almost feel like you're falling, and you fall into the vibe of the music. And this one, the way that it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat is by building up. You can feel like the instrumentation is slowly reaching like a peak, and it comes to that in the chorus, that pinnacle that you get to, and the payoff is huge. Bellamy's voice soars, and the guitars roar. I love this track in general for everything that it is. If you asked me to name flaws with this record, I would honestly have a very hard time doing that, because I don't really see flaws in this album. It is something from start to finish. Even with the track that's been included in all editions of the album since 2009, Futurism, it's an album's album. It's one that I come back to time and time again, and each time I come to it, I find something new. I uncover something that I didn't love before that I love and appreciate them for even more now. Suffice it to say, I have a lot of favorites when it comes to this album, but let's talk about the cream of the crop, the ones that are up there at the top so high, I still can't wrap my head around how good they are. I already mentioned this one briefly in a different manner, but I want to talk about Hyper Music first. That was one of my first loves when it came to discovering this album and getting into it. I would bang my head along so furiously that it would give me neck aches. I really just felt the passion and energy from this track, and still to this day, driving fast, going around town with this track on, it's going to give you some sort of release, and I think that is definitely therapeutic in a way still to this day for me. Darkshines is probably my top favorite from this LP. It is something that I feel is so overlooked in a way, not in the sense that Muse fans don't know about it, but even people that just kind of casually get into them, I don't hear them talking about this track enough, and I want to change the conversation here just by plopping this out on the table. Take a look at this live performance from 2001. Holy shit, did you just hear what I just heard? Because I just saw that and it is something that I cannot stop watching. It's one of my favorite live performances ever. Matt Bellamy and the rest of this band, it just sounds so phenomenal here, and even on the studio version, which obviously is top-notch quality as well, I've been playing this on repeat. I cannot get enough. because this song truly has everything. It has a great start, it has a great story, and it has a great release and build. It's something where it plays off of the other members of the band so well. You can hear every member. I love those piano chords that really just drop in almost a little bit jarringly leading up to that explosive chorus, and then Bellamy just unleashes. This song is truly one of the greatest ever. I'll only briefly touch on this one because I've already mentioned it a couple of times, but Space Dementia is absolutely fantastic, and like I said, it's something that goes on for 6 minutes, but you truly do not feel that length whatsoever. It's like here and you're out in just a second, and you get lost in a wormhole in space somewhere in between. I also have to give a major shout out to the track Futurism, which technically is a bonus track, but not really because it's been on all editions released since 2009. This song is something special. I love the way that the guitars are toned, and it's kind of a perfect closer. Not that Megalomania wasn't, it's just that even when you add this on, it kind of sends you out on a note of not reflection, but almost questioning, and you're not exactly sure what is going on in the head of Bellamy and the rest of the band. Another top favorite for me, and the final song that I'm going to mention here today, is Citizen Erased. That one is absolutely flawless in my eyes. I love how loud and abrasive the guitars are. It's almost like a wall of sound that you're almost hit with almost instantly. And that guitar breakdown is so good. It's reminiscent of like harder stuff from the 90s, I feel like, in a way, but it is all entirely Muse. This is a very unique sound to them. And Citizen Erased is another one that really just goes on the attack, but then almost plays defense for a little bit. It backs off. It's like, okay, we're on the other side of the field here, and then those guitars drop back in about the 2.5 minute mark, and you're just like, oh wow, I was not ready for that. But it is all a spectacle, and you have to experience it, and experience it loudly at that. Muse's Origin of Symmetry is one of my favorite albums of all time. I am so happy that I finally got a redemption review done for it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you love this album, or if you're not a fan, I'm not judging whatsoever. Let me know why you don't like it. Let's get a conversation going in the comments down below. And if you are one of those who have unfortunately never heard this album and experienced it in full for yourself, please change that. There will be a link to stream it down below. Drop a like on this video while you're here if you want to see more throwback reviews, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. I realized this as soon as I finished recording my actual outro, but I forgot to rate this album for anyone who doesn't check the description, but it is a obvious 5 out of 5 for me, a classic from Muse in my eyes. If you're able to support what I do here, not only on this channel, but also beyond ARTV as well, then consider donating on Patreon on a monthly basis. It's the top link down below, or else the annotation in the corner of your screen. If you would like to see another Muse-themed video, then tap right here or right here for another recent review that I uploaded. You can find me on social media at these links down below, and other than that, I'll see you soon on ARTV.